the foods that we eat, like a single food generally is not going to have all of the nutrients that we need. We need a variety of vitamins and minerals and protein, fat, carbohydrate. We need all those things. So in order to get the proper nutrients, what's important is that people eat a variety of foods, that they eat sort of a varied diet of lots of different types of things to be sure that they're getting the nutrients that they need.
I know a food that includes every one of those.
Yeah. I mean, there are foods, but probably not all the vitamins and minerals as well. You know. All right, so we're going to talk in a little bit more detail about those. So this is sort of, again, shows how it might look at them. So let's talk about vitamins and minerals today. Do you guys know what the difference is between a vitamin and a mineral? Jared?
A vitamin is like inorganic, it's not organic, and minerals are.
I think you just swap them. Minerals are inorganic, whereas vitamins are organic. And we know from what we talked about earlier this week, what does organic mean? Has carbon and has hydrogen, yes. So the minerals that we're going to talk about, just a few here, they're things that, they're elements. All of these are elements: calcium, iron, iodine. And so we need them in fairly small quantities, but they are important. And we'll talk about, for each one, what it actually does in our body, and then what happens when you don't have enough of that mineral. Jackson, do you have a question?
Because when we were doing like our experiment making slides, the iodine was blue, but we have iodine at home in emergency or whatever, and it's like red.
Iodine starts off orange.
Oh.
Yeah. It only turns bluish black when it's in the presence of starch. All right, so let's start with calcium. I'm sure you guys know about calcium. And you find calcium in dairy products, but as well as vegetables as well. Some vegetables are high in calcium. And what is calcium important for in our bodies? Right, Laura?
Bones.
Yeah, in construction of our bones. Our bone tissue, the majority of it is made out of calcium compounds. Okay? So it's important to have enough calcium to produce strong bones and teeth as well.
Sounds like an alien.
And so if a person is not getting enough calcium, if they have a deficiency in calcium, what might the symptoms be? I guess first, does anyone know the name of the disease that can be caused by a lack of calcium? Brandon? Osteoporosis, yes. What is osteoporosis? Olivia? Weakening of bones. Because one reason that could happen is because the person doesn't have enough calcium, therefore their bones become less dense. Now your bone tissue should be dense and compact and very strong. If a person's not getting enough calcium, they don't produce enough of that bone tissue, and it's not nearly as dense, and therefore it's more fragile, more likely to break. Okay? So calcium is important, especially as people get older, especially women. Okay, women lose more calcium from their bodies as they get older than men, and women are more affected by osteoporosis than men. And so it's important, especially as women age, that they're getting enough calcium. Okay, another one, iron. Iron is found in meats, also in nuts and some vegetables as well. What does it do for us, Shay?
Does it like something with your blood?
It is.
Because like when you taste it, it tastes like iron.
Yeah, it is with your blood. Jared?
That helps your blood
Blood.
flow.
Not so much flow.
Your blood pressure?
No, Jackson?
Oh, it has to do with like a bad thing when you eat too much of that.
What's that?
I know someone who like ate like only like red meat all the time, and they almost had a heart attack.
Oh,
from it.
well that's most likely probably due to cholesterol and other things. Yeah, but iron itself is important in our red blood cells.
I knew it.
Okay, iron, red blood cells, inside of them have a compound called hemoglobin.
What?
Hemoglobin is what bonds to oxygen atoms to carry them around our body. And one part of the hemoglobin molecule is iron. It has iron in it. And so if a person does not get enough iron, their blood cells can't carry enough oxygen. And so what is the end result of that? Not a heart attack. No.
Not getting enough air to breathe.
Well, they're getting enough air to breathe, but their blood's not carrying that oxygen to the parts of their body.
Blood clot.
No, not a clot.
It's like the, when parts of your body stop working.
Could be. What we call anemia is when your cells don't get enough oxygen. It could be caused by lack of iron. And a person that's anemic may tire very easily, may not have much energy. Because if you think about it, why do our cells need oxygen?
To breathe.
No. No, you guys know the answer to this.
To
Why do our cells need oxygen?
to make respiration.
For respiration.
Yeah.
To make ATP. If your cells don't have enough oxygen, then you're not going to make enough ATP, and your cells will not have sufficient energy to function. Okay, so people with anemia are weak and tired and get fatigued very easily, but it could be other reasons as well. Another one is iodine. Iodine is, like we talked about, it's sort of the same thing, but iodine is a nutrient. We need it in small quantities, but we need it for a part of our body called the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is a gland in your neck. It's part of your endocrine system. It's around your trachea. It's right over here. And in order to work, it needs a small amount of iodine. Okay?
What?
It needs a small amount of iodine, no. And so the iodine that your thyroid needs, if it doesn't get enough, what happens is the thyroid starts to swell up to work even though it doesn't have enough iodine. That's called what? It's called a goiter.
As Mr. Akiri said, Goiter, and Mr. Akiri said no.
Yeah, so a goiter is an enlargement of the thyroid gland because a person is not getting enough iodine. Now, when you go to the grocery store, you look in the salt in like the baking section. Some salt is iodized, some is not. What that means is they add some iodine to the salt so that people don't suffer from an iodine deficiency. This salt is not iodized, and it even says, this salt does not supply iodine, a necessary nutrient. So this salt doesn't have it, but other types of salt, if you go home and look at the salt contained in your house, chances are it's iodized salt, and so you're getting your iodine through that.
I don't like
No, it doesn't taste different at all.
So when you told me not to put the stick in my mouth, and I accidentally put the stick in my mouth with the iodine.
That was methylene blue.
Oh, that's poisonous?
So
That's something different.
was that poisonous?
Yeah.
You go.
Oh, someone's gonna have symptoms.
We missed this funeral.
All right, so that's goiter. That's what happens if you don't get enough iodine. Yes,
Is that
Brandon?
why you get a sword with
No, that's a different issue.
Is that like what that is?
What happens if you have too much?
Too much iodine? I don't think anything. I think you just, most nutrients, most of these vitamins and minerals, if you get more than you need, they just get excreted in urine. So, your body will use the vitamin C that it needs. Any extra, it just gets rid of. All right, Maggie?
Do you need salt to live? Like, do you need it?
No.
Sodium?
I mean, yeah, but you have other sources. You don't really need salt to live.
Are you sure?
All right.
No.
Now, the next section is about some vitamins.
Oh God.
So again, vitamins are organic. They are things that are have carbon and hydrogen in them. And so we'll talk about just a few here. There's other vitamins as well. One, vitamin A. Vitamin A is a vitamin. It does several things, but one of the important things it does is it's important in our vision. To form parts of your eye, they require vitamin A. And so a lack of vitamin A can lead to poor vision, especially night vision. Okay? In our eyes, in our retina, we have different types of cells called cones and rods. And the rods are sensitive to the intensity of light, the cones are sensitive to color. And so a lack of vitamin A can lead to a person developing night blindness or very difficult time seeing under darker conditions.
Is there a lot of vitamin A in carrots?
Yeah, carrots have a lot of vitamin A.
Help your eyesight.
That's why people say eat carrots to help your eye. But somebody asked last year, they said, well, then if you just eat a whole bunch of carrots, will your eyesight get better? And that's not the case. So you have a certain eyesight. If you have a lack of vitamin A, it may be diminished, and eating carrots can help bring it back to normal function, but it can't give you supervision.
I think my dog carrots thinking that he would have supervision. My dog really does.
All right,
That's different.
I do.
another one, vitamin B12.
Vegetarian.
Yeah, vitamin B12 is an important vitamin that is especially important in our nervous system. To form neurons and for our nerve cells to function, vitamin B12 is important. And vitamin B12 is generally found only in animal products. And so a person, for me, I'm okay, I'm a vegetarian, but I do eat dairy and eggs as well. So those are sources of vitamin B12. People that have to really focus on are people that are vegan that don't eat any animal products at all. You know, some people don't eat eggs, they don't eat milk, they don't eat any animal products. And so those people may have a deficiency in vitamin B12. And so sometimes they may take a supplement of vitamin B12. And if you don't have enough, there can be nerve damage. It can lead to a loss of balance, loss of nerve function, tingling of your extremities because of that lack of nerve function. So there's different symptoms that go along with that. Jared?
If you cut off your pinky, if you let go lose your pinky toe, you lose 20% of your balance.
All right, I never heard
Are
that.
you serious?
Joe?
Have you ever had meat flavored tofu?
Yeah, I've had like fake meat. Like
When
this week we're having BLTs and I make the fake bacon stuff with it.
What's the name of the tofu?
Tofu is made out of soybeans.
Didn't you know that you can bite off your pinky finger like a carrot? But you can't do it because your nerves are telling you not to.
All right, thanks for sharing that one, Maggie. Let's move on.
Did you know you could rip off your ear?
Vitamin C. Guys, vitamin C is another important vitamin. Vitamin C is part of a protein called collagen. Collagen is a protein that sort of helps our cells bind together and stick together. A person that's not getting enough vitamin C then can have several symptoms. It also is important in our immune system, and so a person that doesn't get enough vitamin C can have the disease called scurvy. So hold on, scurvy is people. So you may be talking about it in terms of pirates because people were affected by scurvy for a long time, but people noticed, really, people that were on long journeys over the ocean in ships, because what they would be living off of on those ships, they had no refrigeration. Maggie, quiet. There's no refrigeration. People live off like cured salted meats and nuts and grains. And so what they did not get a whole lot of is vitamin C. And so that led to this disease called scurvy. It leads to bleeding, bruising, infections. A person's gums start to deteriorate because your gums are made mainly of these proteins and they lose their teeth easily. What they eventually found, and they didn't know at the time exactly why, but they found that if they brought along on these voyages crates of citrus fruits, lemons, limes, oranges, things like that, then, and they ate those periodically, people would not get scurvy. We know now the reason is because they're rich in vitamin C, and that's prevented them from getting scurvy.
There's a SpongeBob song. And it's called Scurvy. Wait, can I go on YouTube when you're
No,
done?
not now.
Like later.
Maybe. We'll see what time we have left. Jared?
Is that why, like, whenever people, like,
dog pirates or anything that always have like no teeth?
Yes, it could be. Now, yeah, scurvy leads to bruising, loss of teeth, infections, things like that. Generally today, you know, if people that have enough food, that are not suffering from malnutrition, generally they all get enough vitamin C.
Is that why, like, then how come, like, your parents tell you not to, like, just eat almonds? Because, I mean, that, like, destroys
Eat
your
what?
enamel. Like, just eat almonds. So that destroys your enamel with all the acids.
Oh, acids can destroy tooth enamel.
So if you're gonna lose teeth.
Vitamin D is another important one.
Is that where Sunny D comes from?
It could be named, I don't know if it's named after that.
Yeah, it is.
Is it? Also, milk that you drink usually has added vitamin D. Vitamin D is important because it helps our body use calcium. So calcium is important for strong bones, but our bodies can't really use it unless they also have vitamin D. And the interesting thing about vitamin D is our skin, when we're exposed to ultraviolet rays from the sun, that allows our skin to make vitamin D. So you make your own vitamin D when you're exposed to the sun.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And it's then a lack of vitamin D leads to the disease called Rickets. And what Rickets is when, especially in young children, babies, if they're not getting enough vitamin D in their diet, then they're not able to use calcium properly, and it leads to soft bones that don't form properly. Often babies that or children that get rickets, will have like bow-legged, where their femur, instead of being straight up and down, gets sort of bent and curved. They may have their legs are formed incorrectly with various deformities because those bones weren't able to mature properly because of that lack of vitamin D and because they couldn't use that calcium. Sure.
Can you fix
I remember my mom was talking to someone and they were talking about like how her baby had to wear like a helmet because the head wasn't formed rightly. Is that because of rickets?
I don't know. There could be a lot of reasons for that, but a person with rickets, a baby with rickets, the skull, there's a soft spot in the skull that is not closed at first, but eventually closes as the baby gets older. A baby that's not getting enough vitamin D, it doesn't close properly. So probably not, because they're probably not, almost nobody, in the United States has rickets because we have plenty of vitamin D and lots of foods we eat are enriched with it. Generally, this is a problem in parts of the world where they don't have enough food, period. And they also get some of these, they don't get all these nutrients as well. So they don't get enough calories, but they also don't get enough of some of these nutrients. Bobby? Yeah. Also leads to damage to the teeth because, again, it's related to calcium. And finally, vitamin K. Vitamin K is a vitamin that is important in our blood clotting. So we'll talk about this sauerkraut. It's missing an R. So when we have damage to our blood vessels, if you get a cut, what happens is you start bleeding, but eventually you stop because a blood clot forms. Because parts of our blood start clumping together and they sort of seal off the wound, so you stop bleeding eventually. So a blood clot in that case is a good thing. You want those blood clots. It's important. There are also bad blood clots if they form internally in your arteries and veins, but that's a separate issue.
If you cut yourself inside, then
It's okay because those blood clots form and they seal up that wound. But it's when they form and they circulate in your circulatory system, they're bad.
Okay.
Yes, Shay?
So this is a really bad scenario, but I have a question.
Yeah.
Say you got a really, 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 really bad cut, a huge cut.
Uh-huh.
So would it form in time, or would you?
No, normal blood clotting can seal up, small, larger wounds as well, but a serious, major, catastrophic injury, your blood clotting is not enough to seal it up, and so that's how people can bleed to death. It's also why if you get a cut what are you supposed to do? Apply pressure first. That pressure helps to sort of seal in things, allowing those blood clots to form more quickly and stop you from bleeding
But it
more
hurts when
quickly.
you push on it.
Joe?
Well, I got a scar. You know Ethan Rep?
Yeah?
He ran me into a fence.
Oh.
Well, on Hex.
I know
Playing
Ethan Rep.
11:30 at night in the dark.
Oh, I
And
remember that
what?
story.
He was running and I was running. He was chasing after me. And he was I jumped the fence and I ran. And
Well, I'll have to talk to this Ethan Rep.
And then he got blood all over his hands.
Oh, that's too
Not like
bad.
it doesn't even match.
All right,
I'm not telling you a story.
hold on. So blood clotting is important. And so a person without enough vitamin K can suffer from what's called hemophilia sometimes, or excessive bleeding, which is called hemorrhaging.
Oh, yes.
And that just means a person without enough vitamin K, their blood won't clot properly, and therefore when they get a cut, it may not stop bleeding as well as a person with a normal amount of vitamin K. Maggie?
Okay, so one time I was babysitting my neighbor's cat, and I was washing out the cat can of food, and
The cat food, yeah.
So it was the kind that you pull up like a soda can,
Uh-huh.
and it was sharp,
Yeah.
and I forgot to pick it up the right way, so I sliced my thumb on it.
Oh, that's smart.
And I grabbed a cloth and I applied pressure, and then I ran out the door screaming, and then I went inside and I had to go to the emergency room.
that's too bad.
That's too bad, he said. And now I have like
All right.
a line across my
When you get a cut, you put a bandage on it. Does that stop the bleeding? Because it's not.
That itself doesn't stop it, but that keeps pressure on it so that the blood clot
That's
doesn't form.
it's gonna keep
Yeah,
bleeding.
and that actually stops, the blood clot actually stops the bleeding. Yes, quickly.
Okay, so say your lip gets cut open like very badly.
Yep.
Jordan. Why would they have to put stitches in it if like the blood clot?
Because they put stitches if it's a cut that either is too large to heal on its own very well, or if it's a place where it may scar and they want to reduce the amount of scarring.
But she has a scar. Middle. Because
Yeah.
she's really dumb.
But by stitching it, they may reduce. All right, we need to move on. We'll maybe get these questions after, but I want to finish up a couple things. All right, so just, you have this slide, and the next couple you don't. But this is just to give you an idea about what some of these diseases look like. Osteoporosis, the weakening of the bones.
Can we write this down?
Yeah, write that part down. And if you look at the bone tissue,
Oh my gosh.
if you look at the bone tissue of a person with normal conditions, the bone is pretty dense. It forms this network. There's some air pockets in there. There's some space in there, but it's pretty dense and then pretty strong. But a person with osteoporosis, which can be caused by lack of calcium, there's not as much of that actual bone tissue. There's more gaps. There's more space. And therefore, those bones are more fragile and more likely to break than normal bone tissue. And again, here's just another diagram showing that.
That's really gross.
No. Jackson?
Because there are like these towels that you give dog tissue on, and like if you split one open, you can like see.
Yeah. All right. Scurvy. Again, scurvy's caused. We don't have these slides.
We don't have it.
I know. Scurvy's caused by, you still need your notes out though, because we have more slides. Yeah. Lack of vitamin C. So I know some of you, guys, don't like these sort of gross pictures, so you may not want to.
I want to look at
There's no sound effects, just pictures. Alright, so anyway, Joe, have a seat. So, again, vitamin C helps sort of make the proteins that help our cells hold together, so it leads to sort of bloody bruising, especially in the legs, infections. It also has major effects, guys, on people's teeth, because again, those gums are made of lots of this collagen, and so people lose their teeth. they get bloody gums. All of that are caused by this lack of vitamin C. Maggie? Maggie?
Okay, can I go to the bathroom?
All right.
It's
Rickets.
done, Maggie.
Rickets, again, is softening of bones because of a lack of vitamin D. And so what you see as affects children most of all, you can see the bones of the legs have not formed properly.
Oh my.
They're soft, and so when they form, they sort of don't form in a sort of straight, normal
How
pattern.
did I stand?
After those, you can see in the X-ray of a child with rickets, you could see the shape of the femur is obviously it's curved, unlike, and it shouldn't really be like that. And again, once those bones mature, the effects are basically permanent. Okay. And another fact is that people with fair hair and fair skin, people that might sunburn easily, they have less of a problem with rickets. Can you guess why?
Because they do something.
Jackson?
Because the oils in the body are like not enough. They're not protected enough.
Okay, so it's not so much oils, but pigments. Pigments in their skin. So people with fair skin sunburn easy, but that's because they don't have as many of those pigments protecting them from that ultraviolet radiation. Therefore, they make vitamin D more easily. People with darker skin have more of those pigments, which means that blocks more of that ultraviolet radiation, making it a little more difficult for them to produce vitamin D. Jackson?
I said that when you get tan, it's like damage to your skin.
Yeah.
So like when you get a tan, is that a permanent?
No. And a sunburn is really damage to your skin. That's dangerous.
So like if you get dark skin.
No, and people that tan easily, they form more pigments when exposed to sunlight, and that's protecting them from damage due to sunlight. People with fair skin that burn very easily are doing major damage if they get a severe sunburn. Aloe just helps it feel better afterwards. All right, let's do the goiter. So again, to remind you, goiter is the swelling of this thyroid gland. It sometimes is caused by lack of iodine, but it can be caused by other things as well. And it's your thyroid gland is responsible for controlling your body's metabolism. So let's say if a person is not getting enough iodine, it may start fairly slowly a swelling in their neck.
That's not a little bit of
Well, you'll see the next couple pictures. That is a minor goiter. So that's one that could probably be reversed once a person started getting the proper amount of iodine. But it gets worse.
Oh, no, that was worse than that. That was
What's that? Well, I mean it's on the outside, so your windpipe goes into your lungs. Your thyroid gland is on the outside of that. So as it swells up with this goiter, the skin and the outer areas swell there. But if it's a lifelong lack of iodine, it gets worse and worse.
That's awesome.
So again, you can see it can swell. It can swell to extreme proportions. All right. Take out your notes, please. If you put them away, it's over. Don't worry. All right, no. So let's go over this next 2 slides, then we'll be done here.
Maggie's gonna throw up.
I am gonna throw up.
So the last, all right, guys, listen please. So the last part of this unit we need to cover in our notes is looking at nutrition facts and figuring out how the different amounts of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats contribute to the calories. And so you guys probably remember that a gram of protein supplies how many calories?
4.
4 calories. A gram of carbohydrates?
4.
Also 4 calories.
I'm gonna fill it.
A gram of fat?
9.
9 calories.
9.
All right, so if we look at two foods, milk and candy. Now they are both, we have the same amount of each. We have 250 grams of milk, 250 grams of calories. If we look at the nutrition facts for each, they have radically different calories. Milk has 195 calories, and we can figure out where that comes from by looking at the nutrition facts. There are 13 grams of protein in milk. So how many calories does that provide?
14 times 4.
Yes. 13 times 4, which is 52. So this milk gets 52 calories from the protein it contains. It has 20 grams of carbohydrates. What would that provide for calories, Christian? Yeah, 80 calories come from the carbohydrates. 7 grams of fat would give how many calories?
63.
63 calories. Okay.
Nice, man.
Now if we compare that to the candy has 350 calories.
1 feet, 350.
It has less protein, only 4 grams. For how many calories?
16.
16.
Yeah.
It has less carbohydrates, only 5 grams. Giving a total of how many calories?
20.
20. But the fat, it has 35 grams of fat. 35 grams of fat provides 315 calories. So if we have the same, they're both 250 grams, so why does the candy have so many more calories? Maddie? Because it has a large percentage of its weight is in fat. So the candy provides more calories, which is more energy. All right, have a good day.
That was the worst class.
Don't get a goiter.
Oh my God.